matches in store this week, of course, tomorrow morning. Arguably.
Show in store, as I said, we've got the FA Cup quarter-final rounds locked up now. Some big news stories doing the rounds as well, and those big match previews to come. But Rick, a recap of what took place overnight.
Yes, thank you very much, Adriano. Good afternoon again to all our listeners. We'll start with the FA Cup, and as you mentioned, it was one of the biggest games going around. We're just having a few mic issues, but it looks like everything might be okay. Hopefully we can fix that very, very shortly.
Lead there. Scoreline then went to 3 points. We'll keep on trying to fix this on as we keep on going. Hopefully something might work very, very shortly. Rob,
soldiering on, Rick.
I will, I always will. Roma have grown out a controversial 2-1 win over Bologna, with Eusebio Di Francesco's men moving into 5th place in the standings. Alexander Kolarov converted a controversial penalty. We'll discuss that very, very certainly. Before Federico Fazio made it 2-0. Nicola Sansone made it a nervy last 10 minutes for the Giallorossi by pulling one back for Bologna, but ultimately it was not enough. In the other match that was also played this morning in La Liga, Athletic Bilbao's surge up the table in La Liga continues as they defeated Huesca 1-0 away from home. Inigo Martinez was brought down in the box and Raul Garcia converted from the spot midway through the first half in what ultimately proved to be the match winner. The Lions are now only 6 points. It's an incredible tale when you think about it. They are 6 points off a potential Europa League automatic qualifying spot. And finally, in some little bit of transfer news that has been floating around, we know that there are a couple of transfer markets still open and going around, one of them being the Major League Soccer, the MLS in the USA, and they have signed Orlando City has signed former Sporting Lisbon winger, and of course he's played all around the world and all around Europe, Nani. So a little bit of news. Hopefully our audio is now back. I think it is, from all the comments that have all been filtering through. Back to you, Adrian.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you. Big night of action in Europe's various cup and domestic competitions. Take me through what has been a big night, because if you didn't catch the action overnight and woke up and checked out social media, you would have seen that there was turmoil at Chelsea. Lots of talk about Sarri and affirming his future with the club and saying that he's not worried about his position. But the result didn't go in his favour yet again.
Unfortunately not, no.
Chelsea 0, Manchester United 2. So United go through to the quarter-final stage of the competition. That draw now locked in. But what does this result mean? Another defeat under Maurizio Sarri. A first home defeat for some time. And against the United side that were out a couple of key figures.
But it's the way in which Chelsea lost. I think that now needs to start to be explained. Unfortunately, when you go and invest the sum of money that Chelsea will likely invest come June 1 or July 1 on someone like Gonzalo Higuain, you now start to expect results. Unfortunately, the one thing that Higuain has been renowned for over the years is choking against the big teams. Basically doing a Romelu Lukaku, to put it in another way. Unfortunately, he's done exactly that. Hasn't even been able to really get a lot of shots on target. And when you consider that Chelsea only had 2 shots in the whole match, Pedro and Willian being the only 2, It just goes to show that things aren't going well there at Chelsea. But it's at the other end that I want to talk about today. Defensively. Marcos Alonso, who thinks he's Marcelo and ventures up the pitch all the time. Well, unfortunately, he got exposed for the second goal that Paul Pogba ultimately put in the net. But it's David Luiz, that centre-back. He is not to move, in my opinion, very, very far from the 18-yard line, because as soon as he decides to venture forward, that's it. The opposition counter very quickly in transition, somehow find the gap, and they score from it. It's cost him on far too many occasions. He either becomes a defensive midfielder, or he just basically decides to lock himself on the 18-yard line and not move ever again in his career. It's just cost Chelsea, and obviously when he was at PSG and Brazil, we all remember that 7-1. Yes, don't mention the war. But it's those moments there that have ultimately cost him and his sides on far too many occasions. One too many, I feel.
A terrible result for Chelsea. The reports, of course, have been circulating that the moment the Champions League football is not an option for the Blues, Mauricio Sarri will be moved on. You just get the feeling that this result against a direct rival at this stage of the... Well, this sounds strange to say because they are the favourites to win the Europa League, but for the cup competition they have the most chance of actually lifting a piece of silverware. It's a disastrous outcome for them here, and you're right, it wasn't so much the scoreline, but it's the performance on the pitch, and again the question marks continue. Lots of money spent. Kepa, they brought in the world record goalkeeper.
That's right.
Look, he's done what he could do this season, but hasn't been supported consistently by those around him. Just so talented on paper, but just nowhere near it, and the consistency not there. They are at serious risk of missing the Champions League next season, and they remain favourites for the Europa League. But are they actually favourites for the Europa League? Because, I mean, some of the form from the other teams around them, well, not too many of them, but particularly one or two, I don't think they're at that level at this point in time. So I doubt the future for Chelsea, and I think they could end this season without a piece of silverware.
Could they also miss Europe altogether?
No.
Could they somehow fall
No.
sevenths and maybe miss it on Europa? Because we know
That would be a disaster.
Because we know the Champions League is the ultimate aim. So top four is the aim, and it is supposedly what will keep Mauricio Sarri in his job. But what would happen, hypothetically speaking here, all of a sudden...
Wolves make up an 11-point gap.
I know, we've seen weirder things happen.
We have.
I'm not going to suggest it,
No,
but...
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I just think the other alarming factor here is their inability to score again. They've failed to score in one too many games for my liking of late. And in fact, in their recent defeats, in their last 6 losses actually, counting back to a Leicester defeat, they have failed to score.
That's how many times they've scored.
So
0.
in their last 6 defeats, they haven't scored a goal, and a big concern here. And we were confident that Chelsea would respond. Of course, they had the midweek win against Malmo away from home in the Europa League 2-1, but their first match on English soil since that 6-0 demolition at the hands of Manchester City. Very disappointing for Mauricio Sarri. Again, post-match the comments, yes, my loyalty to the club, etc., etc. We know when comments like that are made, we know what the future normally holds for that individual.
Yeah. But I think now the other question that needs to be asked, in the three-way merry-go-round deal for the 3 strikers that involve Chelsea, Atletico Madrid and Milan...
Clearly one winner
at the moment. You just have to wonder, well, since Chelsea did want this particular striker, why didn't they go after the other one that seems to be in a little bit of form with his gunslinging salute after he scores?
But you could put that to all clubs. Barcelona needed a number 9. They got themselves Kevin Prince Boateng. Real Madrid could do with more attacking talent. All teams could do with more attacking talent. Chelsea, though, certainly here, given the fact they were actually involved in that switch, well, they could have splashed some cash on Piontek and maybe made the difference, but not to be in the end. Gonzalo Higuain to see out the season with Chelsea. Will they then pursue the deal?
That's going to be another interesting element. You'd say if Sarri were to remain, quite possibly, but if another coach were to come in, I don't know how long Gonzalo Higuain has in London, to be perfectly honest.
No, I don't think so at this point. But then it begs the question: where?
Yeah,
where for Higuain? It could be the fast track end to his career in Europe. He could always return to South America, who knows? But for Gonzalo Higuain, not happening just yet. For Mauricio Sarri, it needs to happen soon, otherwise he will be out of a job.
But things are happening, though, at Manchester United.
Aren't they?
They bounced back after that 2-0 Champions League result last week, of course, against Paris Saint-Germain. We were discussing how would they go after getting that first loss. Yes, they obtained it obviously midweek, and they've bounced back in very, very nice style here with a 2-0. 11 wins from 13 matches for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. We know about the Paul Pogba record. He's been involved in 14 goal and assist involvements, only second to son of Tottenham. So clearly things are on the way up, very much so. There's only one way for me at the moment. They could honestly go on to win the FA Cup. They really could.
No Martial, no Lingard, of course. Both players out for a few weeks through injury, up to a few weeks through injury. Well, look, they're well placed, United. A tricky draw in the quarterfinals. They've been drawn against Wolves and away from home. We know Wolves have been able to take points off all the big boys this season. Manchester City, of course, the favourites to win the FA Cup, are away to Swansea, Watford, Palace, Millwall, Brighton. They're your quarterfinal matchup. So you're right, Rick. United can go all the way. Yeah,
they've got a nice sort of run. It just depends who you end up getting, obviously, going forward. But you can't rule it out. You really can't.
I wouldn't be surprised if we end up with an all-Manchester final.
No,
Manchester
not at all. Final. Not at all. When you look at the 8 teams or the 4 matches, you'd say that they are on course. If they can somehow avoid each other in the semis,
of course,
this could be a very tantalising battle come mid to late May.
And obviously it'd be an unexpected opportunity for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to pick up a piece of silverware.
It very well could. Yeah, you're right.
And again, it won't do his long-term harms of coaching this club any harm whatsoever. We could see him take the reins, and of course have been the reports suggesting that he may take the reins. They may offer him the long-term reins, but I think they are being patient, which I like from Man United. Be patient, see how the season finishes up, make a decision from there.
Santino's come through. He says City will choke and United will win, for his friend Chris. Well, I hope for your sake, Santino, that it does happen for your friend's sake, Chris, but it looks like it's going to be a very, very tough ask at this stage.
And Adriano, too kind. G'day, Adrian and Rick. Keep up the great work that you both do. A great afternoon always starts with 2 top champions keeping us informed with the latest news.
Thank you.
Very, very kind of you.
That's a nice testimonial there.
We're very happy, of course, to be providing you all the latest news, views and analysis from the world of football daily here on afternoons on FNR Football Nation Radio. Of course, proudly brought to you by Lanco Group,
yes,
Rick.
Thank you. Yes, great sponsors of ours.
Great sponsors, your business partner for engineering solutions. But more to come from the world of English football, of course. A big match for an English club tonight in the UEFA Champions League. Liverpool up against Bayern Munich. That to come later on in the program. But cannot wait to preview that match. 2 big stars at Bayern Munich ruled out on the eve of the match. The first leg, of course. Liverpool with a defensive crisis. So hard to predict what will happen, but we'll preview that. And Lyon-Barcelona as well tomorrow morning, ahead of the Thursday matches, Schalke, Manchester City and Atletico Juventus. That will be previewed in depth.
Cannot wait for the next 48 hours.
The program. FA Cup action overnight was the cup action, but there were 3 league fixtures, one in Germany, one in Italy, one in Spain. We'll start with the latter. Bilbao have gone to Huesca and ended their best run of the season, the bottom place side, who had won their last 2 coming in, and it was a single penalty that did the damage. Bilbao with a win to Raul Garcia on 19 minutes. Bilbao 1, Huesca 0, and Bilbao now back in the mix. Their form, their turnaround has been as good as we've seen for some time.
Gary Garitano, their coach, whatever happened when he got installed at the mid to late December, it was before Christmas. Whatever he has been able to do this team, it's been absolutely remarkable. I keep on saying it. That was second last and looking like they were gone. For Christmas. That was their Christmas present to themselves at that stage. All of a sudden, they must be kissing his feet at the moment because they have to be worshipping whatever he has done, whatever he has implemented to this team, whatever he has almost reset at the Lions. Well, it's worked a treat, and look at them all of a sudden. They're, like I said in the news hour, at the top of the news hour, they are within 6 points of the likes of Getafe, Alaves, and Sociedad from being in Europe.
Rick, one more point on top of that. They're 7 points due to Champions League football. It's incredible. It is incredible, and we've said that 4 to 14, the mid-table rung there of Spanish football, if you include 4th and 5th as mid-table, it's anyone's
It
to
is.
take, because Sevilla have been out of form, Getafe, Alaves, all of these teams who have been up there for some time are just not in form at all. Hence why just 7 points separate 12th place Levante, even, who are equal on points with Bilbao, and 4th place Sevilla, who occupy the 4th and final Champions League spot for next season.
So tight at the moment. Just 1 point or one result against what you've been doing recently could see you drop all the way down to that 12th position, and a couple of results the other way could see you as high as 4th. So it's very, very tight, and that's what makes La Liga so exciting.
Absolutely does. For Raul Garcia, I mentioned the goal scorer on the night. He's now scored 30 goals in La Liga since his arrival at the club in the 15-16 campaign, more than any other midfielder in the competition. That's an incredible record. A few goals for this season, a very important one here, and his second goal in the last 3 games for the 32-year-old midfielder as Bilbao just knock on the top half door. So a massive result for them. For Huesca, again, it was another match that, well, they had to win, but they're still, just given their recent form, they're still in with a shot, because Celta Vigo, who are 17th and safe for now, are only 6 points clear.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know. I'm not going to rule it out, but I don't think they will survive, to be honest, and I think we've been saying that for a very, very long time.
And Rick's just responding to some fans around. If you'd like to give us a call at any point in time, and this applies to whether we're on Facebook Live, whether we're in the studio, whether we're anywhere, poolside, Rick,
Anywhere.
99449999. You can call at any point in time. There's plenty to discuss, of course, in this program. Champions League football this week, Europa League football this week. Some title-deciding fixtures to come as well in top competitions. And, well, one of those...
I was going to say, do you want to speak about that title-deciding fixture? Because I think...
That's where I was headed, Rick, of course. But one of those matches took place this morning, and it was a top v bottom clash. How is that a title-deciding clash? Well, Nuremberg-Dortmund, bottom v top, bottom host top in Germany, after a very narrow win for the second-place side Bayern Munich at the weekend, who defeated Augsburg 3-2 on the road. Dortmund, knowing that their lead at the top of the table is down to 2 in the lead up to this match. All they need to do, Rick, is go to the bottom place side and win.
They do.
They hadn't won in their last 4 in all competitions, including German Cup elimination, including a humiliating result against Tottenham in the Champions League, and also including a dreadful performance against Hoffenheim, where they led 3-0 and then conceded 3 goals late and drew 3-3 at home. Breathe. Dortmund now have gone to Nuremberg, Rick, and incredibly made it 5 games without a win. Nuremberg 0, Dortmund 0. Their lead now just 3 points.
Title race back on. But Borussia Dortmund did have every single thing to their advantage. They had all the possession, they had all the shots, they attempted more. They looked like the team that was actually going to score, or at least break the deadlock on a few more occasions, and of course Nuremberg. Normally they had a couple of great chances, and if it wasn't from Mberke, their goalkeeper, heading the ball away, or palming the ball away from Behrens especially, I think it was in the first half if I'm not mistaken, where a great header came and the goalkeeper stretched right out to block it and put it away. Could have been a very different result here. Dortmund, between Götze and Witzel in particular, had about 3 or 4 chances between each of them to actually try and get that opening goal, but just really couldn't put the ball in a tough angle for the goalkeeper to stretch out and palm it away. Lucky for Nuremberg to get this point. They get out of it, and it just helps their cause to stay in the top flight. But unfortunately, this is 2 points dropped for Dortmund.
Absolutely.
And Bundesliga, for me, is now wide open.
I've argued the case of Dortmund before to run away with the Bundesliga title, and I still am going to stick with them. You look at their upcoming fixtures, and sure, it doesn't, with all due respect to Nuremberg, it doesn't get any easier than that. The bottom place side, who just 7 days ago lost to Hannover, the second from bottom team, 2-0. This had to be a Borussia Dortmund win. It wasn't in the end, but for Dortmund now, there is a mountain of work to do. But the fixture list still looks favourable to them.
It does.
Bayern Munich go to Mönchengladbach in a few weeks' time. Bayern Munich then have to host Dortmund, we know. There are a number of trickier fixtures for Munich than there are for Dortmund, but in the form that Munich are at the present time, in contrast with Dortmund's form, you have to give them an opportunity.
You do.
3 straight draws in the league for Dortmund, so they haven't been losing, just 1 loss all season.
Yep.
But yes, a lot of work to do. What will the Champions League and how much will the Champions League impact these two sides? And that's where I still fancy Dortmund. I did tip Dortmund to go through against Tottenham, But now, given that they require a miracle to advance,
And that won't be happening, realistically speaking.
well, realistically it won't. I get the feeling Munich will eliminate Liverpool, and we'll discuss that shortly when we preview the match. If Munich are to advance in the Champions League, will that work in favour of Borussia Dortmund's title hopes in the Bundesliga?
I think it actually might in the end. I think with Niko Kovac, if he can somehow get past Liverpool, that's where his priority has to be. It can't be just to win the domestic double in Germany anymore. He has to start to focus that little bit more further on than just in Germany. So for me, that's what will happen. Now that Dortmund, well, they're gone in the Cup.
Yep.
We know that. We know that I still think they're gone in the league. I think they've shot themselves very, very badly in the foot.
Well, they can't be gone in the league because they're undergoing a really bad stretch, but they still lead.
They still do, and that's
They'll come out of this.
They should.
They still had a few key players missing, Rick.
I know, but I still think, unfortunately, I think it will be Bayern that will get up and somehow win this title. Nonetheless, if you're going to answer this question, I think, Bayern, if they get past Liverpool, that's their priority. If they don't, title race back on for both teams, and really that will be the focus.
Well, still Dortmund with Royce, Pulisic, Akanji to return, Piszczek as well. They've got some key players missing. They had Paco return for this one. Götze's back firing. They've had a few issues. They've had illness go through the squad. I think Dortmund, if they come out of this bad patch still ahead of Bayern Munich, and Munich are still in the Champions League, I think that Dortmund will still win the title.
I'll think the opposite, but that's why we have these great debates
all season. Okay, that's German action. One match in Serie A, but Rick, before we get there, we do have a caller on the line, which we'll get to, of course, 9944 9999. Roma Bologna, the match in Serie A this morning, but we have Adriano on the line now. Welcome to the program. Do we have him there?
Hello, how are you?
Good, Eric.
Pretty good.
What did you want to talk about, Adriano? Your favourite Atalanta outfit. How did you think they went on the weekend other than that 3-1 result?
Well, at the moment, what can I say? Pretty much, look, the year's actually been pretty good, They've actually overachieved my expectations, for the last 3 years, to make Europa League. Then they sort of, last year they got to the stage where, they were sort of pushing hard to make it again, but all of a sudden they went into the the sort of qualifying stage, and then all of a sudden they made it to that stage there. Then they sort of got bundled out, but still, I reckon they can go a bit further this year. You know what I mean? They got a bit tired. The bench is not that as explosive like other teams. You know what I mean? Like we can't bring in stars like Milan, Inter. You know how it is. So yeah, but I'm pretty happy.
Can they go on and make the Champions League this season? That's been the question. Obviously, the top four with Inter Milan not playing particularly well consistently. Atalanta, many's tipped to finish in the top four, potentially with Milan.
That's right. I just wanted to say, too, at the moment, I can't really hear you too well. The volume is very, very low on my side. I'm not too sure if it's from this side or your side, but I just can't hear you too well.
That's all good. We'll investigate. We can hear you nice and clearly. But thank you, Adriano, for the call. Keep in touch, of course, 9944 9999, and you can also obviously tweet us at any time as well at FNR _radio.
Can I just give a quick cheerio to my fiancée, Natalie? She's actually listening to you guys at the moment, so you can give her
Of course you can.
Her name is Cinzia.
Of course, massive.
And also, my brother actually at the moment is listening to you guys too, so you know him as very well as Matt Cristina.
We do,
and
thank you.
He's a big Napoli supporter, so at the moment, me and my brother always, when we actually playing against each other, Napoli, Atalanta, there's always that sort of feud. Who's stronger, who's better. This year they actually won 1-0 and Milik scored the goal, you know how it is, so...
Appreciate the call, Adriano. Hello to Cinzia, Matt, and everyone. We appreciate your support, of course, here on the afternoon's program.
Thanks, boys. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Again, 9944 9999. If you'd like to give us a call at any time, feel free. And we appreciate all of your kind words, of course. There was that one match in Serie A this morning, Roma Bologna. Roma 2, Bologna 1. Roma win again. The form is starting to build. Failure to keep a clean sheet again at home. Bit of a concern. You weren't overly impressed, though, with the display.
No. And why I wasn't overly impressed is because of what Bologna were able to do. Now, I don't know if you caught much of this match, but that first half, under Sinisa Mihajlovic, the new Bologna coach, Bologna should have been up 3, even 4-0, or even go as far as that. Soriano and Sansone just absolutely tore apart that Milan defence. They hit the crossbar twice. Roma, sorry. They tore apart that Roma defence, like I said, a couple of occasions. Hit the crossbar, had several good chances to actually find the back of the net. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to, and it was just that little bit of luck that did go the Giallorossi's way. And then there was this controversial penalty in my eyes. Why? Everyone in the office seems to say it wasn't that controversial, but Stefano Sciarri links up with Edin Dzeko in the box. The ball is played to the former Italian international. He is then, he was sandwiched. That's the correct term. Yep. He did get stuck in between two players. But I felt he sort of half leaped at the same time. I wouldn't say it's a simulation, but it gave me the impression that he played for it a little bit more than normal. Unfortunately, the referee went to VAR. They looked at it. No, given. Kolarov scores. He's having this feud again, as we know, with the Ultras, the Roma, faithful. Yep. They didn't like him, unfortunately, getting on the score sheet. But
did you like the fact they gave him the penalty to take?
Yes, that I did like. That was the element that I did like. But they got through. Nervy. Conceded that goal, obviously, very late on. Very nice goal from Fazio himself to make it 2-0. But a few little things that sort of need to be ironed out with Di Francesco and that Giallorossi outfit.
Outside of the Coppa Italia 4-0 win against Entella, which lower level opponent doesn't really count, they've only had one clean sheet in their other 7 fixtures this calendar year. That is a concern for me, and that was a 3-0 win against Chievo, who are the bottom team in Serie A. So defensively is where I have my issues. Kolarov on the score sheet, Fazio as well, so 2 defenders getting on the score sheet in this one. But you are right, Bologna were pressing all game. Eventually Sansone got his goal 6 minutes from time, but too little too late. It finishes Roma 2, Bologna 1. The most important part of this result though, Rick, Roma now 5th, 1 point behind Milan, 3 clear of Atalanta. That is now... this is the race between 3. I feel Milan, Roma, Atalanta. Lazio are level on points with Atalanta, but I don't think that Lazio will go the distance, and I think that Inter will be sucked back in there. I think 2 of those 4 clubs, Inter, Milan, Roma and Atalanta, will finish in the top 4.
It's just making for a very interesting run home with about 14-15 matches to go.
Absolutely. And of course, next weekend, some massive matches for these sides. And by massive matches, all winnable games with some tricky trips indeed. Atalanta go to Torino next weekend. Roma go to Frosinone. All winnable matches, but points must be taken. Of course, Juve away to Bologna, Napoli away to Parma, Inter away to Fiorentina, Milan, the only team in the top 6 at home against Empoli. We'll have you covered with all the previews and reviews of those matches and more.
We will. There's going to be some very interesting games, and I think there's going to be a couple of upsets. Let me put it that way.
Certainly looking forward to that. We've still got Champions League to preview and a whole lot more, so stay tuned. Plenty more coming up right here on afternoons on FNR Football Nation Radio. We do have some news though, Rick, before we get there. Of course, those 2 big matches in the Champions League tomorrow morning, Liverpool-Bayern Munich, and of course, there is Lyon-Barcelona as well. Ahead of those other 2 fixtures, Schalke City and Atletico Juve to come Thursday. But just some news stories doing the rounds, Rick, in no particular order. Some transfer, some not. A big story we were discussing months ago, just going back to England for now, or maybe not months ago, maybe weeks ago. You remember the spy scandal at Leeds?
We do, with Marcelo Bielsa and the big binoculars and standing on the side of the road and peering through the Derby Stadium and what Frank Lampard was up to, yes?
£200,000 fine.
Yes.
Correct? No. Enough? Not enough?
No. If you are standing on a public road with a set of binoculars and you can see through a stadium and you can see what your opposition analysts are up to,
yes.
How do you cop a £200,000, so what's that, 400,000 Australian, maybe 350,000 Australian fine for basically what? Wanting to research on your opponent? I think that's incredibly harsh. But
I agree.
But I guess this is the England FA, and this is how they have done and set out the rules, of course, with all the coaches and what they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. If that's the fine that he has to cop, that's the fine he has to cop. But what the interesting thing is that there's already a GoFundMe page straight away set up by a few Leeds fans to try and raise that money to say, well, you know what? We believed in our coach. We believe what he did was right and fair. Let's pay for the fine ourselves.
Interesting. But
everything seems to have a GoFundMe type page all of a sudden these days, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Well, interesting that was the fallout there. £200,000 fine for the club for spying. They are still in a nice position to return to the English Premier League for the first time.
And they should.
In some time. And they should. And they should. Looking forward to that. Elsewhere, when we talk in England, there was a player who was potentially set to return to his parent club in Arsenal, but Ospina currently at Napoli. Napoli are set to buy out his contract and he will stay on in Naples next season. I think he's done enough.
I can't believe how cheap the contract is.
Also,
€4 million, considering the issues that Ben Leno, the current Arsenal
That's
goalkeeper, has had, and the stability and the reliability that the Colombian international offered the Gunners. I'm surprised he's being allowed to stay on in the southern part of Italy by, of course, the current
Very
Arsenal
strange.
coach in Unai Emery. Very strange.
Napoli, of course, a team that will be playing Champions League football next season, representing Italy again. One team who are hopeful of doing that, but whether or not it will be with this player, we will see. But Inter Milan, of course, the fallout with Mauro Icardi continues. The reports overnight, again, continuing Juventus could be a destination club. That would be quite incredible if you were to ever make that move. But Rick, did you catch the social media accounts of Juan Donata, his wife/agent, last night?
No, I didn't. No.
There was, now, again, I'm not glued to her Instagram account, but I saw...
You're far more glued than I am if you know she has an Instagram
No,
account. You
don't-
know where it is.
I saw some social media, Rick.
Fair
There were images circulating about Juan Donata's Instagram story that had a fire, and in the fire would appear to be pictures of her and Mauro.
Ooh.
I don't know how much to read into that, but anyway, we'll move on from there because Inter are hopeful of making the Champions League next season. But what the future holds for Icardi, I'm not so sure. Really, I'm not so sure at this point because will he return this week? Will he return? Of course, they have the return against Rapid Vienna in the Europa League second leg. They lead by a 1-0. Does he return? Do they stick with the winning formula? He's no longer captain.
What's interesting about the whole Icardi saga is, on top of all that, and what you've just told me about Wanda's Instagram account, is you've actually had Giuseppe Marotta come out, the Inter CEO, and he said, well, if everyone seems to think that Icardi could be potentially a Juventus target come the summer, then why can't Paulo Dybala be an Inter target come the summer as well? So it's going to be very interesting, this debate over the next few months. Matt's come through and he says, what about Icardi to Napoli? I'm not going to rule that part out, but
They could certainly do it.
they could do with him. Could you imagine if Napoli get finally a number 9
Yeah.
to complete that side and have everybody else bounce off him?
It would be very, very exciting. I'm sure Matt would enjoy that. Icardi to Napoli, it sounds like a good fit. Whether or not it would actually take place, we will see. One of his former teammates at Inter, Icardi Vasalco, Simi Vasalco, he's spoken about cutting his loan short at the Nerazzurri. Of course, he's now returned or
To
will
Atleti.
return to Atleti. He's basically come out and been open, saying that he's had surgery on an injury that will keep him sidelined for up to 10 months, and basically he only wants to return when he's 100%. He had no choice but to cut the deal short.
Yeah, unfortunately, that sort of, what was it, a hamstring and a foot injury, that lower leg injury, unfortunately, just did not do too well post World Cup. Inter took him on loan. Unfortunately, just the deal didn't work out. He goes back, and let's see if he can sort of become the number 1 again, fighting alongside Santiago Arias at Atleti.
3 final ones before we get to the Champions League. Former Napoli player Edinson Cavani currently out injured at the moment. Thomas Tuchel has spoken, and we'll talk about this when we talk Champions League soon, but he's spoken and said that he feels good. Cavani making a speedy recovery, which is very timely for a PSG side that could do with some players.
Would you risk him for the second leg?
No, not at all. Not if he's not fit. They do play midweek against Montpellier.
They do.
And he said he won't be ready for that game, but will be back soon. So I think it's an issue that will be handled cautiously. But no, if the second leg was this week, you're not risking him when you lead 2-0 and you're playing against Manchester United at home.
Fair enough.
Not at all. Now, one player who has been linked to PSG, Milan Pjanic, one of many clubs he's been linked to from Juventus. Pjanic has revealed that he did receive offers in the summer. Didn't list where, but City, Barca, PSG
The usual
were
suspects,
the
yep.
usuals. He said, though, no reason for me to change club. My dream is to win the Champions League. I'm in the ideal place to do that. Rick, your thoughts?
He's exactly right. No point changing club. Plus, wasn't he on some sort of ridiculous amount of money in terms of his contract and salary?
He's on good money.
$6 million, I think it was.
I think he's on 6.5,
Yeah.
but he's fun.
I don't think he needs to go anywhere else, does he?
Last one, Rick. You've mentioned financial issues in the lower tiers of Italian football. Good news coming through for Palermo, proud Italian club who could be back in the top flight next season. They have avoided bankruptcy. The Miri family, a local family in Palermo, have come through and bailed them out.
They have, so that is good news there for the Rossonero and their fight hopefully to stay up. Just quickly, just before we move on to the Champions League, we brought you that story yesterday in regards to the Serie C side Pro Piacenza. If you recall, the 20-0 belting
We do recall that,
we
Rick.
spoke about. Well, unfortunately, they have been thrown out.
Okay.
They have been thrown out of Italy's third division.
All right. We are back talking all things UEFA Champions League now with a massive, massive match tomorrow. Well, two big matches, but one in particular, arguably the biggest of the round of 16 ties, of course. It is Liverpool up against Bayern Munich. We would love your thoughts about this first leg, the entirety of the tie, and more. So do give us a call at any time, 99449999, or tweet us at FNR_radio. Rick, what a match this is shaping up to be. Of course, at Anfield, the first leg, because Liverpool were runners-up in their group, Bayern Munich group winners. They have the benefit of playing the second leg at home. Key figures missing at both ends of the park. We know the well-documented crisis at Liverpool in terms of injuries defensively, and also Van Dijk suspended for this first leg. But for Bayern Munich, Boateng and Ribéry both out on the eve of the first leg.
What's interesting is that Niko Kovac has not explicitly said why both the central defender, or the centre-back, and the winger are both excluded from this match. It must be a tactical thing going around because, well, with no Thomas Muller, of course, available for the entirety of this tie,
No, Muller as well.
you need some sort of attacker. Now, unless you're going to rely on Leon Goretzka to get you all the goals or to supply the assists for Robert Lewandowski to ultimately find the back of the net, I don't know why you would exclude the 35, almost 36-year-old. However, at the other end, I can understand why Kovac has excluded Boateng. He's out of form. He hasn't had a great season. Nico Schürrle and Mats Hummels have been the two better defenders in my eyes. Defensively, they've worked into a nice pattern of play together. They started to understand one another and how they start to position up and down the field. That part I can understand. But, yeah, no Ribéry with all that Champions League experience, a little bit questionable for me.
Well, I believe that the two are in the squad, just not. They're in the Champions League squad, but not in the match day.
Not in the match,
Not in
no,
the
correct.
match day squad. So I have read reports that Ribéry is expecting a child.
Okay. That's
I have
understandable.
read reports there. Boateng, of course, has been dealing with form, fitness and illness issues recently as well. For Liverpool, of course, Van Dijk suspended, as I said. Gomez out. Oxlade-Chamberlain still out. Lovren with that hamstring. There are issues aplenty here. We'll go through the...
Firmino as well is also a little bit
Firmino
iffy.
also-
Shaqiri, if I'm not mistaken, as well, with that ab injury that he's got.
That's right. We'll go through projected lineup shortly, but that back four for Liverpool, we've questioned Liverpool's back four at their best. Against the best, we've questioned them, and they proved us wrong for large parts of last season. But in this match against, again, any attack with Lewandowski, with Kingsley Coman, who's coming off a double at the weekend, with James Rodriguez, and all the quality that Bayern Munich bring, this is going to be very, very difficult. Liverpool have been perfect at home this season, though, in the Champions League. Impeccable in the Premier League as well. They're very, very tough to beat, very tough to break down, very tough to score against. In fact, I think Crystal Palace were the only team that went there a few weeks ago and scored multiple goals against them in the league, obviously in that 4-3. But it's going to be a very tough ask here for Liverpool, knowing they need to get the points here. They need to get a win.
They do.
Because their away record in this competition, well, we know how poor it's been. They lost all three games.
Correct.
Must-win game for Liverpool, but with a makeshift defence in place, potentially Alexander-Arnold, Fabinho, Matip, Robertson, can they hold out against Lewandowski, Coleman and co up top for Bayern?
They might be able to hold out on one or two occasions, but ultimately I feel that attack that the Germans have will penetrate and get past Alisson. He could be the ultimate decider for Liverpool to stay in the tie and maybe tie over. And I know it's a bit early, over 90 minutes, but with that makeshift defence, you've just got to start to question, now that the bigger teams have started to rise to the fore, yes, you can argue that Liverpool did take on PSG and did get the better of them ultimately, but now this is where the cream starts to rise to the top. I just feel that I do believe that Liverpool will be conceded upon. I just don't know whether it be multiple times or whether it be just once, and it might be enough to sort of keep them in the tie.
How do you think the match plays out? Because Niko Kovac, just to give you a bit of help, Niko Kovac has said, when the players walk into the stadium, they will know exactly what is at stake. These moments are why they became footballers. We drew the toughest possible opponent. 100% will not be enough tomorrow. If Liverpool come at us with 140, we need 150. I cannot imagine that this match will finish goalless.
No, it won't finish goalless. Absolutely not.
Well, the coach of Bayern Munich has confirmed that, Rick.
Oh,
So
wait.
how many? How does this play out? How did Bayern Munich approach this game? Keep in mind as well, Bayern Munich have been very solid as an attacking side, but defensively, they've been conceding.
They've been issued. Yeah, there's
That
plenty
has
of
been
issues.
an issue as well. So we say that Liverpool have key absences. Well, Bayern Munich almost threw it away against relegation-threatened Augsburg at the weekend, 3-2.
No, that's right. So I still think that even with Firmino on the sidelines, depending on whether he's called in, Sadio Mane is the one who's been getting the goals, hasn't he? He's scored in his last, 3-4 matches as well.
He's
So
playing some good football.
Joshua Kimmich is going to have his hands full for the entirety of the 90 minutes to keep him at bay. Well, we know what happens at the other end. It's Daniel Alaba versus Mo Salah. That's going to be an interesting battle within itself. We know both have got plenty of pace. We know that they can burn off their opponents all day long. It could be on for young and old in that respect. I think that Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, they need to venture up the pitch on as many occasions as they can to try and stretch those two wing-backs in particular that I mentioned a moment ago for Bayern Munich. And if they can do that, I give Liverpool every chance to get a few goals past this Bayern Munich defence, because I don't trust Manuel Neuer in goals. I trust more Alisson Becker at this stage.
No clean sheet in 2019 for Bayern Munich, so not a bad tip at all. Just looking at the projected lineups for this match, we will start with Bayern Munich, who you don't trust, Rick. Neuer in goal, Kimmich, Süle, Hummels, Alaba, Goretzka, Thiago, Gnabry, James, Coman in behind Lewandowski. Kimmich, the big one, if he's booked in this match, he'll miss the second leg at the Allianz, of course. Robben, Ribéry, Müller, Boateng, Tolisso all out. So big names missing. You confident with that? Because defensively you're not. Do they have the firepower?
They have the firepower, absolutely.
Is Coman, can he replicate the form he showed at the weekend? Can he bring that to the biggest stage against one of the big?
Well, I don't think he can. He needs to. I don't think he has to.
It's not a matter of it being a choice.
He's got no choice. He has to turn up. He has to front up, and he has to get a couple of goals and somehow help his team get through. And him and Serge Gnabry and the partnership that the two have, they need to work together and somehow get past this Liverpool defence that has been very, very good all season long.
Liverpool, Alisson, Alexander-Arnold, Fabinho, Matip, Robertson, Henderson, Milner, Wijnaldum, Salah, Firmino, Mane. Keep in mind, question mark over Firmino. With all the attacking quality that Liverpool have, keeping in mind that Bayern Munich have not kept a clean sheet in 2019, we're certain there'll be goals in this one.
Yep.
But do Liverpool have the quality, with those key absences, of course, defensively, Van Dijk suspended and more, to go on and actually beat the fast-improving Bavarians?
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest question of all, isn't it? You know, can Liverpool's weaponry all turn up, and can they fire on target and pass Manuel Neuer? That's where it is at for me here. There's no other way to put it. If they can get a couple of shots off, Neuer has a bit of a bad day, they'll get through, and for me, that could actually happen.
Klopp's come out and said, we are strong, that's what we have to show. Of course, putting full faith in his players. But his record against Bayern, not great.
No.
Not great at all. 29 games, only 9 wins and 4 draws, 16 defeats.
And a lot of those wins would have probably had the number 9 that Bayern Munich currently have at the helm.
Correct. In the highest of heights for Borussia Dortmund, of
That's
course.
right.
And he comes up against his former player here, Lewandowski, who is the competition's top goal scorer with 8 goals this season. Tantalising fixture. This is one which has always been tough to predict. And we said from the start, if this match was played 2 months ago, we had Liverpool comfortably.
Correct.
We were very confident, you even more so than me, that Bayern Munich would get back to their best around this time. That they have done exactly that. There was no doubt about it. And they're playing at a level now where, well, you fancy them with the second leg at home to take it right up to the Reds. So I think this is on a knife's edge. I think that Bayern Munich will definitely score, but can Liverpool... Well, they're going to have to score multiple goals in this one and really take a lead to go to Munich in a few weeks' time. Look, I'm predicting a high-scoring draw here. I think it ends 2-2. I just can't see Liverpool defeating Bayern Munich, given how solid they have been going forward. But I think goals are on offer at both ends. And it may be a battle of, well, can Neuer hold out? Can Neuer get back to his best as well? Because we know how good Alisson has been for large parts of this season. I'm putting a lot of this result on the performance of Manuel Neuer. But for me, it'll finish Liverpool 2, Bayern Munich 2.
I'll agree with you 100% there. 2-2. I can't pick a winner at this stage. Like I said, the battle for me is, can Liverpool hold out Robert Lewandowski? If they can Liverpool at the other end put a couple in past Manuel Neuer? Could Shaqiri play against his former team if selected and if over that abdominal strain illness that he has?
All right, so we're both predicting 2-2.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. Of course, that match kicking off at 7 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, live on Optus Sport, if you're with us here in Australia. There is one other match tomorrow morning. Equally as fascinating, this one. Lyon-Barcelona. Now, Barcelona in probably their second bad stretch of form for the season. They had a really poor one earlier on in the season, which was a winless stretch of 3 games or so. But by their lofty standards, this is probably the next worst that they've had thus far. They haven't been able to win consistently recently. They did pick up a very fortunate 1-0 win against Valladolid at the weekend in a match where, well, they were second best for large parts of the match. Messi scoring a penalty, also missing a penalty. A number of key players with underwhelming performances, but a number of players also returning and showing some glimpses. Luis Suarez particularly being one. They go here to Lyon against a side who have had their issues of their own this season in the league, but have also been building of late. Fresh off a 2-1 win against Guingamp at the weekend, responding from a rare defeat. They haven't had too many defeats recently. In fact, just one in 2019 in the league, and that was a 1-0 at Nice. Interesting timing for this match. Barcelona, which is 1 win in their last 4, which was the 1-0 at the weekend. They've had to come from behind against Valencia and Real Madrid of late. They haven't been as solid at home, and now they go away from home, where, well, defensively they haven't been too solid all season. I doubt whether or not they'll be able to keep Lyon out here, who have been so free-flowing and attacking in Ligue 1. We've seen them at their best as well in the Champions League. A little bit of a danger game, this one, for Barcelona, given their recent form for the Blaugrana. So, tough one up in the air, but first leg at Lyon tomorrow morning.
I think this is actually going to go one way and one way only. I think this is going to be a 1-all or a 2-all draw. Because we know what Barcelona have been doing the last month or so, especially in the Copa del Rey in particular, where they have usually played the away leg first and then brought it back to the Camp Nou and generally absolutely smashed their opposition. I feel this has got the exact same pattern about it all of a sudden. Lyon, I can see getting past Marc-Andre ter Stegen on 1 or 2 occasions, even though he was absolutely brilliant on the weekend to help the win against Valladolid. I feel that ultimately the PK and the Langleys and these sorts of players, even Samuel Umtiti, if he is declared fit and able to play because he has started to train with Valverde's the main group, I still think they've got at least 1 or 2 goals in them. If Jordi Alba decides to go on one of those runs that he loves to go on up the pitch, going back, unfortunately, in transition, they do get found out in that respect. As much as we love to see Lionel Messi get on the score sheet, and we know what Barcelona can do in that respect up top with Dembele back, Suarez getting a few minutes in, I think defensively is where they will get found out. And whether it be Fekir, whether it be Memphis Depay in particular, one of the two, I can see them actually getting a goal at the other end.
Well, the bad news for Lyon in this one is that Fekir is actually suspended. That's a big blow. But Dembele has also been as prolific up top for Lyon. I still think they'll find a way. Depay's been solid.
Well, you're throwing Maxi Cornet. He's been the other one that came in. He scored a couple of goals against Shakhtar, if I'm not mistaken, during their match day 4 or 5 or even 6, back end of the season anyway, or back end of the group stage. So there are options there, of course, for Genesio, the
And don't
coach.
forget, they came through that very difficult group. That was a tough group. Man City, Shakhtar, Hoffenheim, Lyon. Coming second in that, no mean feat. This will be tough without Fekir, but I still think that they can take a goal from this, and a 1-1 is looking good. But it will be reliance on Dembele and Depay particularly.
Could you see Genesio employing that 4-4-1-1 that he employed on match day 1 against City?
I could.
Because that was the result,
of course,
that really set them up this season.
2-1 at City.
At City, at the Etihad.
We cannot forget that. This was the Lyon side that took 4 points off City in the group stage. City being
arguably one of the favourites, if not the favourite, according to the bookies,
Exactly. So, an opportunity here for Lyon. This is that same Lyon team. No Fekir, though, but he will be back for the second leg. Really excited to see how they fare, because Lyon have well, they've been as surprising as anyone this campaign. And with their form building in Ligue 1, yes, they had that slip up against Nice a couple of rounds ago, but their form in 2019 has been, well, win, 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 win.
That's right.
They've been on fire. So a great opportunity here against the Barcelona side who have been short of a win of late. For Barcelona, they are expected to line up with Ter Stegen in goal, Semedo, Piqué, Lenglet, Alba, Rakitic, Busquets, Vidal, Dembele, Messi and Suarez. Expect to see Kevin Prince Boateng make his first appearance for Barcelona in this competition. No Artur, of course, with that hamstring injury, which is a big blow to them.
Yep.
Look, they look good, but again, the winning form hasn't been there of late. And a few of those players, Messi included, but Suarez, of course, recently returning from injury. Dembele's had his concerns as well. I don't think they're 100% fit just yet,
No.
but they will be confident over the 180 minutes of going through into the quarterfinals.
And this was the period that a lot of the Barcelona players have been talking about, where they're saying that they are now tired. They've played too much football, every 3 days pretty much since the start of 2019. Well, I hate to say it and I hate to break it to you guys. This is the moment. You now need to be completely fresh and ready to go. Yes, you've had the best part of 6-7 weeks to get yourselves ready for this moment, but now is your turn to shine. You cannot be tired for this clash. If there's an ounce of tiredness in the 11 that are ultimately put out onto the pitch, it's game over.
Absolutely. Well, the two managers have spoken in the lead up to the match. Inesio said that we can compete, but we aren't favourites. Do you like that approach? Obviously aware that his side come in as heavy underdogs.
Well, he knows that they're the underdogs. He knows what Barcelona are like. He knows that there's a little bit of pressure on this Blaugrana outfit to get through into the quarterfinals after their recent record over the last few years. They have to go in as the underdogs, and he's just reaffirmed what everybody knows.
Fair, but at the same time, had they taken on Man City in the group stage in a head-to-head two-legged tie, well, they go through there. And again, arguably the favourite for the competition in Manchester City. They must be quietly confident of getting a result from this first leg, setting up a very important second leg in a few weeks' time. Valverde for Barcelona said, "We're anxious to play, we're excited." Read much into that?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Do you?
No, I don't. I just think that I think that... Look, I don't think the confidence in the Barcelona camp is sky high. Again, against Valencia a couple of weeks back, 2-0 down early on at the Nou Camp, 2-2 late on. 0-0 against Bilbao. They failed to break down a Bilbao side that have been struggling consistently this season. Of course, at the weekend, no, they weren't convincing.
That's right.
They were not convincing. And again, that's 2 straight games now without a goal from open play. That is a cause for concern. So, yes, we're anxious to play because, well, we haven't scored in open play in some time, and we know this will be a tough test against the side that took 4 out of the possible 6 points against Manchester City in the group stage.
We almost need to see the Barcelona outfit that we saw, I think it was match day 1 against PSV, where they were up 3-0 in about the first 35 minutes or something
and
like
we
that.
could see that.
And we
I
think that's what we need to see to really affirm ourselves as to what Barcelona are prioritising and what their actual aim is this season. That's where I think it is for me.
Big match on the cards here, of course. Lyon yet to win against Barcelona in 6 previous meetings in history. Not good news for Lyon fans, but Messi has scored 3 goals in the 4 games against Lyon that he's played. Rick, your prediction for this match?
I'm going to go down the middle, 1-1, to be honest. But if I had to pick a winner out of the 2 teams, I'd be more favouring Barcelona than Lyon at this stage.
I'm with you. I do feel it could end all square, but I'm just, to be different, I'm going to predict Barca to win. Lyon 1, Barcelona 2. And that goes against absolutely everything I've just said the last 15 minutes, but Lyon 1...
We have to present the balance of both.
No, look, you are right. Barcelona can very easily win this game. Lyon will push them all the way. I've got no doubt about that. But Lyon 1, Barcelona 2. Rick's gone with a 1-1, and of course both of us went with a 2-2 in the Liverpool-Bayern Munich clash. That one, or don't miss either of these 2 games, but Liverpool-Bayern Munich will be a special match indeed. A few minutes to go in the program for today. Let's quickly take a look at the other 2 games to come Thursday. Of course, full previews of these 2 matches here on the program tomorrow at the same time. Schalke, Manchester City, Atletico Madrid, Juventus. Let's start with the latter there. What a game this will be. Some saying Liverpool-Bayern, the pick of the ties for the round of 16, but this one not too far behind.
No, not at all, and I can't wait to see what happens at the Wanda Metropolitana. Ronaldo returns to Madrid. I guess that's going to be the big talking point. He does favour a lot of goals against Atleti. It's one of those teams that he has found a lot of success in terms of getting
I think he scored against them more than any other club.
I think he has, so I'm going to be quite excited to see what he can do. I'm also going to be obviously talking about the Alvaro Morata and the link to his former team in Juventus. That's going to be another talking point. And of course, you can also throw in Mario Mandzukic as well.
Yep.
So those three players in particular, I think, are going to be very, very crucial in how that tie is determined in the long run.
Really big game for those reasons you mentioned and more, of course. Juve get a taste of where the final will be played at this season. Of course, Ronaldo's had a few games there, but I think that can't be underrated, the fact that Juve can go to Madrid, play in that stadium. Obviously, they've got to get past Atleti first, but if they can, that would be a good test for them here. But it will be tough. Two of the best defensive sides in Europe going at it with, attacking lineups that are talented but haven't been super prolific consistency-wise this season. Juve, of course, starting to put together multiple goals now and defensively starting to shore themselves up with the return of Bonucci, Chiellini and Barzagli, but the two former names there particularly. So a near full-strength squad for both here coming in will be intriguing watch between Simeone and Allegri, two of the best tacticians in world football at the present time. But we'll give you our in-depth thoughts on those two matches, or that match and Schalke City tomorrow. Before we do give our quick word on Schalke City, Adriano's come through and asked, Salah to Juventus for Dybala to Liverpool, straight swap. Now, these are the reports that emerged out of Saudi Arabia last week, and then were picked up by British and Italian media outlets. They're suggesting that Dybala and cash to Liverpool for Salah could be an option. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. Personally.
100% agree with you.
Absolutely ridiculous. I personally rate Dybala as a better player than Salah. And on top of that as well, Dybala has been, by the main men at Juve, has been claimed to be their future, and that's been well documented for some time. So I don't read too much into that. I don't think that Dybala plus cash makes any sense for Salah. If anything, I think it should be the other way. However, of course, the output of Salah, the goals, the numbers, and what he's done in the last 18 months particularly, that cannot be discounted. But I don't think that will be a move that will take place whatsoever.
Well, I can't see either team selling their prized assets or one of their prized assets. So for me, as ridiculous as this is going to sound, there's no deal on the table in my eyes.
No.
I cannot see either team selling one of their deals, one of their assets. Even if you throw in a little bit of cash, can't see that one happening.
But if you were to throw cash one way or the other, which way would you include cash?
Neither way, to be honest.
So you'd go with a straight swap?
Straight swap if you're going to do it, but I wouldn't do it at all. I mean, off the top of my head, I know Salah scored, 60, 70 goals in his entire Liverpool career over the last 2 seasons. Yes, he's had some good form at Fiorentina. He showed a little bit of something when he was obviously at Roma, but he didn't do anything at Chelsea. So you just have to wonder, has Salah's last couple of seasons, are they representative of who he is as a person and as a player, or do you think there's a little bit more going on there? He's just in this great vein of form over the last few seasons. And
that's what the doubters were saying at the start of this season, was he a one-season wonder? I didn't think that was the case at all. Salah's still definitely one of the world's best players, but for the way that Dybala has worked himself into this Juventus DNA, this isn't a player that you just swap for cash for another player to come in. Correct. That's the point here, and I don't think that will take place at all, but I'm sure those reports will continue as tension reportedly continues to rise between Dybala and his manager Massimiliano Allegri. The other match on Thursday morning, which we'll preview tomorrow in depth quickly, Rick, Schalke, Manchester City. Look, Schalke came through the weakest group in the group stage. We know that. Schalke, arguably, along with Roma, were the softest draw that City could have drawn. City got them. It looks like a relatively routine two-legged win here for Guardiola's men, who are favourites to win the competition. But can they spring a surprise? Because City haven't been at their best in this competition.
I think there's a little bit of a chance that going to Gelsenkirchen, where Schalke do play their football, there might be a little bit of a chance. Leroy Sané does go back to the club that he came from. Of course, it will be his former team. It's the first time he goes and plays a little bit of football, so he will be a little bit emotional. And it might be that little bit there that just catches them out for, even if it's just 10-15 minutes, it could be the difference between Man City going on to really wrap up the tie in the first leg, or maybe giving Schalke, the Germans, a little bit of hope going back to the Etihad on match, whatever the second round is played.
A few weeks' time. Just before we wrap up, just so our viewers know, where are you leaning? You can explain tomorrow for Atleti, Juve and Schalke City first leg.
I'm actually leaning to both teams, both the away teams getting a result here. Slender leads, maybe even a 2-goal lead, to be honest, in both results.
All right, with that more to dominate the program tomorrow. Of course, a full recap of Liverpool-Bayern Munich and Lyon-Barcelona as well will be a very, very big show. Do not miss out. We are done for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time to do it all over again. For now, though, for myself, Adriano Del Monte and Rick D'Andrea, this has been Afternoons here on FNR Football Nation Radio, your voice of football in Australia and right around the world. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.
You're listening to Afternoons on FNR, Football Nation Radio with Adriano Del Monte and Rick D'Andrea.